It's a pleasure to welcome you to this edition of NAFDAC and Your Health, where we bring you the activities of NAFDAC, the agency that has the mandate to safeguard the health of the nation. I am your regular host, Amanda Ugo. Today's edition of NAFDAC and Your Health focuses on the efforts of NAFDAC under the leadership of Professor Mojisola Adeyeye at building local production, particularly drug production, and ensuring drug security and self-sufficiency. This edition will also bring to your viewing all that happened at a 3-day workshop on local drug production and the production of active pharmaceutical ingredients and excipients, which took place in Lagos recently. The current Director General of NAFDAC, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, has since the inception of her headship of the regulatory agency striven to make Nigeria self-sufficient in terms of food and drug production. In addition to this, she also has the vision to entrench food and drug security in the country. This has seen her putting in place policies and adopting strategies. Part of this is the 5+5 policy, and today, to a great extent, the Director General's dream has come to fruition and exponential progress continues to be made in this regard by the day, particularly on drug security.
What we are seeing now is the thought and efforts of NAFDAC that are now yielding fruit, and it's the beginning. Because we were strengthening ourselves and strengthening the industry, we now have the first company in the whole of West Africa and Central Africa to have a pre-qualified product.
The determination of Professor Mojisola Adeyeye led NAFDAC management team to further improve on local drug manufacturing as a step towards enhancing drug security and making Nigeria self-sufficient in terms of drug has seen the agency collaborating with relevant stakeholders and harnessing resources. It is one of such efforts that brought about the recently held 3-day workshop on local manufacturing of active pharmaceutical ingredients. The workshop, organized by NAFDAC and sponsored by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, was held between the 3rd and 6th of October 2023 at Marriott Hotel, Ikeja, Lagos State.
We have grown together, both the manufacturers and the regulators, and we are still growing because our goal is to make sure that the products we make in Nigeria can be traded globally, and you cannot trade what is not of quality. You cannot trade when you don't have international standards built into the development. So that is why we're here today.
The Director General went on to talk about the significance of APIs and excipients and how the ache of these ingredients could wreak havoc globally.
Active pharmaceutical ingredients and excipients. We may think that excipients are innocuous and just non-active ingredients. No. They are as important as the active ingredients. And they may even kill faster than the medicines, because most formulations have up to 80–90% of non-active ingredients or excipients in the formulation. And we are witnesses to the horrors that are happening all over the world with the so-called children's syrup that have killed hundreds of children. In Gambia, 66, in Cameroon, about 22, Uzbekistan, maybe over 200, Indonesia, the same, and it's still counting. Diethylene glycol is a non-active ingredient. I will not call it excipient because it's not meant to be part of a formulation, any formulation actually. So that is why we are here to sensitize us.
Present at the workshop were the Coordinating Minister of Health, Professor Ali Mohammed Patey, who was ably represented by pharmacist Oderinde, the Chairman, House Committee on Food and Drugs, Federal House of Representatives, Honorable Mrs. Regina Akume, ably represented by Right Honorable Udu Obiajulo, the Special Assistant to the President on Health, Hajia Salma Anas, scholars from the academia, and experts on APIs. Delivering his keynote address through his representative, the Coordinating Minister of Health, Professor Ali Patey, stated that his objectives aligns with the objectives of NAFDAC.
First, let me congratulate the DG, Professor Christiana Mojisola Adeyeye, and the entire staff of the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, for always being a beacon of hope that our beloved country can get things right and match the global community in attaining global best practices, especially when it comes to the provision of quality healthcare services to the people. I believe by now you are well acquainted with my priority objectives, which are health security, where we hope to ensure that in disease outbreaks or epidemics, Nigeria is prepared and able to effectively respond and minimize humanitarian crises. Medical industrialization, which is the value chain of the sector, given that 70% of the nation's pharmaceuticals are imported from countries that are just like Nigeria, while Nigeria does not produce any. Improvement of population health outcomes, so that diseases such as diphtheria, measles, vaccine-preventable diseases, and maternal and child health will be reduced to the barest minimum. Improve the quality of governance and leadership of hospitals. Therefore, it is clear from the foregoing that this workshop, which is well aligned with my priority objectives, could not have come at a better time. Under my watch at the helm of affairs in the ministry, you are guaranteed maximum support to facilitate the effective and efficient regulation and control of the manufacture, importation, exportation, distribution, advertisement, sale and use of food, drugs, cosmetics, chemicals, detergents, medical devices and packaged water, all collectively known as regulated products. The ministry will also be committed to ensuring that NAFDAC becomes a regulatory institution that has capacity to protect and promote the public health.
The minister also added that Ministry of Health is ready to support NAFDAC to ensure the agency attains maturity level 4. The program has been NAFDAC and Your Health. Please do not go away. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back. Let's go on to the next feature on this edition of the program. Different presentations were made at the workshop on local manufacturing of API and excipients. Opening the session for presentations was the DG of NAFDAC herself with the presentation titled Understanding Active Pharmaceutical Ingredients and Excipients, the overview of regulatory guidelines.
In terms of factors that are critical to product quality during pharmaceutical development, that must be determined and controlled to minimize risks. Whatever you are doing, you have risks, but how do you minimize risks when you are developing a product? You have to think of the drug substances. If it is a combination product or the drug substance, you have to think of the excipients. As a professor, I'm very curious. I want to know why and why and why. And that's what it takes to build quality into a system. So, drug substance, you must be very familiar with it, the characteristics. Excipients, container closure systems, manufacturing processes. And then you have to know how to assess the variation of these parameters as far as making sure that quality is built into the system. Proper understanding is important. I'm going to go through just drug substance and excipient because of the focus of the meeting. Next please. Next please. Understanding APIs and excipients. I will talk a little bit about APIs. Whatever I'm talking about will be just examples. I can teach this, I can give this lecture for about 4 hours, but I have 10 minutes. You've got to be very familiar with the analytical procedure. If you don't know how to build your product assay or your drug product assay development, then there's going to be a problem. You've got to know how to design a formulation. You just don't use empirical methods to design a formulation because that on the long run may not work. You have to learn how to use experimental design. And because formulations go through different processes, you must be very familiar and understand the process technology or process analytical technology. And there are many guidelines, ICH guidelines, that are related to this. I'm just giving examples. ICH Q8 for pharmaceutical development, Q6A for test procedures and acceptance criteria, and so on. Next. So, from drug substance to drug product, chemistry, manufacturing, and controls, you have different ICH Q1 that relates to stability, Q2 analytical validation, Q3 impurity levels, Q7 good manufacturing practice, Q8 pharmaceutical drug development. Everything is geared towards ensuring that the quality is right. Next. When it comes to analytical needs and challenges, because I'm looking at it from the analytical perspective, because once you are able to understand your drug substance and excipient through analytical perspective, you will be okay. You've got to be familiar with routine analytical testing of the API, if it's a simple formulation, or separation of the multiples. If you have fixed dose combination, you've got to know that they have to be well separated.
In her own presentation made through her representative, Honorable Mrs. Regina Akume, the Chairman, House Committee on Food and Drugs, whose presentation was titled "The Legislature and NAFDAC," spoke on the significance of the workshop to the nation in achieving self-sufficiency and pledged efficient legislative policies that will standardize local drug production. The lawmaker rounded off by highlighting the roles of the legislature in ensuring that NAFDAC is able to run smoothly.
NAFDAC, like other government agencies, is funded through the national budget and the internally generated revenue idea. The legislature, particularly the House of Representatives, through the House Committee on Food and Drug Administration and Control, plays a critical role in approving NAFDAC's annual budget. The budget allocation is essential for the agency's day-to-day operations, regulatory activities, and capacity building. Oversight function. The legislature exercises oversight over NAFDAC to ensure that the agency effectively implements its mandate and complies with relevant laws and regulations. This oversight is typically carried out through requests for budget implementation reports and their analysis by the committee. Oversight visits and monitoring of NAFDAC's activities and budget allocation. Review of policies and regulations. The legislature, through the committee, may offer suggestions for a review and, if necessary, amend NAFDAC's Act and its policies and regulations. This is to ensure that the agency's regulatory framework remains up to date and responsive to emerging challenges and technological achievements.
Another presentation titled Things to Know About Manufacturing APIs and Excipients was made by Dr. Patrick Ukuli, founder and president, Technology Solutions for Global Health. Also, Dr. Okiapa, the MD, SUG Pharma and former chairman Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Group of the Manufacturing Association of Nigeria, made a presentation titled Achieving Medicine Security in Africa, Imperatives of Local Manufacturing of API. Some members of staff of NAFDAC commented on the workshop and the benefit it has the potentials of bringing.
I would like to first of all appreciate the DG NAFDAC, Professor Mojishola Adeyeye, for this very laudable initiative. You know, over time, we've been hearing about national security, drug security, sustainability, supply chain integrity, you know, all of those buzzwords. So this initiative really will demystify all of these buzzwords. So the idea of starting local manufacture of APIs and excipients is very timely.
This workshop, which has to do with local manufacturing of APIs and excipients, for our local industries, it's a stitch in time. You will agree with me that apparently your drug cannot be effective except you take what we call the active pharmaceutical ingredient. That is what makes your paracetamol act in your body, the ibuprofen, the acetylsalicylic acid in your aspirin. Those are the active pharmaceutical ingredients. But unfortunately for us in this country, most of the APIs, the active pharmaceutical ingredients, are things we've been importing over the years. And you will remember that during COVID, we had scarcity of drugs because these APIs are being imported from India, from China, and they closed their borders to avoid a situation whereby we have another COVID and then we are stranded as a country. That necessitated the need for us to have this kind of workshop and sensitize our local industries that we can do it.
The workshop was also used by NAFDAC as an opportunity to launch the NAFDAC online training school. The DG had acknowledged some students who attended the workshop, encouraging them to be focused as they have the potentials to take over key positions in future.
I cannot but recognize my colleague from the university, the Dean, Professor Ayola, School of Pharmacy, University of Lagos. Please come. I just mentioned about the past, and the present is why we're here, and the future is our students. All the students, please stand up. All the students that are present, please stand up, let us be recognized. Okay, we have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah, some of them will still come. But thank you very much. Maybe you're going to be DG NAFDAC. Maybe you're going to be MD of any of these companies. You don't know.
As part of the continuous learning, because this workshop we are having today now, or we're having this very week, is not just a one-off workshop. We are going to step it down. And NAFDAC is now going to be in the vanguard of ensuring that these things we have learned here now, we are going to take it out. Because the resource materials and all the slides, everything is available. And we, NAFDAC staff, are also here, who are also very competent and resource persons themselves in their own rights. And so we intended taking this very one out. And that's why we have launched the NAFDAC training school. It's going to start virtually, first of all. Then, as time goes on, we are going to make it in person. So we have had modules, like different modules on different aspects of regulatory, of drug development, of API manufacturing, of GMP, and of all sorts of this thing for food, for drug, for chemicals, for all sorts of aspects of our regulatory activities. We have brought a lot of people in, and we have erudite resource, virtually all of them who are members of the committee. They are all PhD holders in various fields in the agency. And so we want to start the NAFDAC online training school now. Within the next 1 or so year, we are going to make it a live training. And people will be coming from all across the world to Nigeria here to study. And I think it's a way of really selling Nigeria, because we have a lot of resources. Because this agency, NAFDAC, we are about 30-something years now since inception, and we have developed so much capacity. Both those who are currently working and those who have even retired, so much capacity, so much information at our disposal in regulatory, all sorts of regulatory of every regulated product. And we have attended so much training, workshop, conferences all over the world. And we want to now begin to cascade this thing down to people who don't have those opportunities. That is why we have this NAFDAC training school. And it's going to be a very, very wonderful opportunity. And I'm sure a number of people who are interested, so are hearing, you can get involved.
This is where we draw the curtains on today's episode of NAFDAC and Your Health. We'll be back again next week with more updates on the frantic efforts of NAFDAC aimed at safeguarding the health of the nation. You can also help NAFDAC keep our society safe by supplying us with any information on activities that could mar the efforts of NAFDAC at safeguarding the health of the nation. If you have such information, please reach out to us.
You can reach NAFDAC via toll-free numbers. For inquiries, call 0700 162 3322. For complaints, call 0800 162 3322. You may also email NAFDAC at nafdac.gov.ng. If you have complaints about any form of misconduct, you can reach the Reforms Unit via email, reforms@nafdac.gov.ng, or call the Reforms hotlines on 0909 763 0506 or 0909 763 0507. NAFDAC, customer focused, agency minded.
Remember, it is criminal to import, produce, distribute, market, or sell unwholesome food products, counterfeit medical equipment, drugs, or chemicals. Don't hesitate to report these nefarious acts to NAFDAC to assist in safeguarding the health of the nation. Till we meet again next week, stay safe.